All right, we're going to work with the exact same data this time on our calculator. So I'm going to try and type instructions here for you as we go, and then also do it on the calculator. So we are going to enter the age into L1 and the reading level into L2, which we have here. And then we want to calculate our line. So we're going to go to stat and then tests, and we're going to do the linear regression t-test. Okay, so that's where we're heading. Now, you could calculate the linear regression line. You could use this one. If we do the linear regression t-test, we're able to store it, which is a little bit more powerful. Okay, so this is an okay option, but what I want is the tests and the linear regression t-test. So we do that on L1 and L2. It's always not equal to. And remember, we're going to store the regression equation. So to do that, you click Variables, go to Y Variables, Function, and then Y1. So we want it to calculate our regression equation and then go ahead and store it for us and calculate. Now, it does, right here, it does give us our slope and y-intercept, A and B. Okay, so I can go ahead and type that down. So we have y, remember this is y hat equals A, that's our y-intercept, negative 3.81 plus, and then our slope, 0.86, I'll just round it to that. X looks like that. All right, and also our calculator, it's going to give us an R value somewhere down here, same that Desmos did, which we saw was strong. And then also it gives us, remember, the p-value. P-value is right here, and it is really small. This is in scientific notation. So p is clearly less than any alpha we would pick. So this is a statistically significant linear relationship. So we can use this equation to make predictions. So that is entirely appropriate. All right, now what we were trying to find, so I might jot that down, that, R equals 0.989 and P is practically 0, so it is statistically significant. Okay, so remember we were trying to find residuals. Okay, so we want to find the predicted values and compare those to the actual values. Okay, so to do that, I'll start typing that maybe over here. So in L3, so go back to Stat and Edit, and you're going to go over to L3 and all the way up here. Okay, if you hit Enter, it should drop your cursor down here. So in L3, we're going to go to Variables, Y Variables, Function, Y1. So we're telling it we want you to plug things into Y1. And what we want you to plug in is parenthesis everything in L1. Okay. And then it's going to do that. So it has taken 6 and plugged it into this equation. Okay. And it got 1.37. And then it took 9 and plugged it into this equation and gave it that. Okay. So what we did is we did L3 is equal to Y1 parentheses L1. Okay. So these are all of our y hat values. Remember, these are our y's, the actual ones. These are the y hat, the predicted ones. We want to find our residuals or our errors. So remember, residuals are y minus y hat. So to get those, we're going to go to L4 and we're going to type in our y values, which are in L2 minus L3. Okay, so now we'll do that on the calculator. So come over here to the calculator, there it is. Go up to L4 and hit enter, and you're going to tell it that you want to do L2 minus L3. And those should be the same residuals that we calculated on Desmos. Hopefully those look really familiar. Okay. All right. Also, you can get the calculator to graph all of this for you. Let me show you how to do that. So, of course, to just graph the scatter plot, you go to second stat plot. Okay, we want to turn the plot on. We have a scatter plot. The first thing I want to look at is just the scatter plot, so just L1 and L2. Don't forget to go to Zoom Stat. And also, since we stored that regression equation is here in the y equals. It's stored there, so the calculator is going to go ahead and graph it for us. So you can see that, just like we saw in Desmos. And then we can also have the calculator graph the residuals. So you're going to go back to stat plot. You'll have to turn plot 2 on. And still a scatter plot. This time we want L1. Those are still our x values, but our residuals are in L4. So we'll have to switch that to L4 and then go ahead and graph that. And you can see those residuals ended up here. Maybe if we go to Zoom Stat again, it'll get those because some of them weren't quite fitting on there. There we are. Okay, go to Zoom Stat again. It'll readjust your viewing window so you can see them all. Okay, so your calculator does everything that Desmos will. Like I said, it just takes a little bit more work.